Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring spectacular settlements. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring what could be the only settlement creation book that you will ever need in your RPG career, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about cities. A city is large enough to be seen from great distances, with enough foot traffic and trade to provide nearly anything one could hope to find. Home to all manner of people and all manner of opportunities, one's first visit can swell the heart with hope and wonder, or cripple the mind under the weight of intimidation. Some cities are glorious testaments to the ingenuity and perseverance of their people, but some are certainly not. Cities can be cesspits, assemblages of the most wretched scum and villainy. The cities chapter is a grand amalgamation of all settlement types before it, with further organizational additions that allow you to construct a place of much greater scale. You have all of the tables needed to determine the basic information of a city, the community, districts, and extra intrigue. Let's go through some of these details. In the category of basic information, we have subcategories such as origin, with results such as tribal home. The city was originally a home to a group of natives in the region. The settlement built upon itself until it became the city it is now. Or maybe it is a haven. The location attracted a group seeking refuge from some crisis. They could have been persecuted by some great oppressor, or perhaps they fled a natural disaster. Conversely, they could be a society of rebels or outlaws who desired an independent settlement of their own. Next, we have priority, with results such as trade. The city was made to move goods. Coin flows from hand to hand, and the city wholeheartedly encourages this. It likely collects a tax from any trade, but the benefits should far outweigh the costs. Perhaps you obtain the result of enlightenment. The leadership prides itself on its intelligence and wisdom, typically making choices that preserve their society and reinforce the community's access to knowledge and culture. Then we have the age of the city. Maybe it's recent. The city's final work was completed within the past 10 years, or maybe it's ancient. Then we have size. Perhaps it's a small city. Structures in the city are able to support around 16,000 people. Or maybe it's a very large city. The structures in this place are able to support around 40,000 people or more. Next, we have details about the area around or outside the city. Perhaps there are barrows, an area devoted to burial sites. Maybe there is a hermit's cottage. A hermit lives near the city limits, beneath the notice of most of the inhabitants. They keep to themselves, but who are they? What do they gain by their close proximity? We also have stewardship. Perhaps the city is neglected. All of the fundamental elements of the city are being ignored, or are unable to be addressed. Maybe the city is managed. The city's fundamental elements are all accounted for and well attended to. Whoever is responsible is doing an admirable job. Next, we have general conditions. Perhaps the city is decent. The city is passable. While not offensive to the senses of one that is well traveled, it could still be off-putting to those with lofty expectations. Structures may not be aesthetically pleasing, but are generally functional. Perhaps the city is magnificent. The city is incredible. Cleanliness, maintenance, and structural integrity are all of the highest standard. Loving attention seems to have been lavished on as many aspects as is possible. We also have information on the environment. Maybe it's a coastal city. It's near a large body of water, such as a lake or ocean. Perhaps the city is in or near a vast area of stagnant water, a swamp. We also have details on fortification. Maybe the city is unfortified. The city is exposed on all sides, save for any barriers created by the presence of buildings or natural land formations. Maybe the city is heavily fortified. The city is surrounded by a heavy wall of wood or stone, with several watchtowers built along its length. There are also details on vendor style acquisition. Perhaps it's a lease. Merchants pay in advance, sometimes far in advance, for the right to a space in the market's square. There's information on the merchant overflow. Perhaps it is monitored. Excess vendors are allowed to set up stalls, and the city watch patrols through regularly, but the areas themselves are less maintained and traffic is lighter. We also have information on the market square itself. Perhaps it's tight, only room for a few vendor stalls, or maybe it's spacious, room for lots of vendor stalls. There's also information on underground passages, with natural caves below the city, or maybe there are forgotten crypts. Old burial chambers and tombs are housed deep beneath the city, likely unknown to the general populace. Then we have the category of community, with subcategories such as population density. Maybe it's sparse. Folk live in the city, but it would never be called bustling. Walking down the street, you'll typically only see a few people. Maybe it's dense. There is a large amount of people living in the city. There are few, if any, vacant buildings. In high traffic areas, one generally has elbow room, but not much more. We also have data on demographics. Perhaps it's high and low. 80% of a primary race and 20% of a secondary race. Or perhaps there is a wide distribution, with 20% primary race and all others are reasonably well represented. We also have information on population wealth. Maybe the city is prosperous. The majority have enough to live a good life, and of them, a fair amount can even live comfortably. Maybe it's affluent. The entire city is able to live comfortably, with a significant portion living in luxury. We also have details on visitor traffic. Maybe the city attracts crowds. A noticeable amount of people come through the city on a regular basis. Congestion is increased. Maybe there are masses. Huge groups of people always seem to be visiting. Congestion could cause difficulties if the city is unable to cope with very large amounts of people. We also have details on disposition. Maybe it's unfriendly. Locals don't care much for visitors, looking upon them with contempt, fear, or suspicion. Maybe it's open. The locals actively enjoy visitors and their culture incorporates this. Just about anyone is welcome. We also have information on night activity. Maybe it's dark. By the time the sun goes down, the streets are nearly empty and the city closes up. All is quiet and peaceful. If the city has a gate, it is closed and barred. Guards may or may not allow night travelers inside. Maybe it's lively. There is little difference between day and night traffic. There are always people on the streets, and it may seem like no one ever sleeps. There are details on leadership. Maybe there is a merchant monarch. The wealthiest merchant in the city leads by default. Or maybe there is an underworld or criminal enterprise. A criminal or group of criminals, either publicly or privately, controls the city. Then there is law enforcement. Perhaps there is a robust city watch, run by a captain and 2 sergeants. The watch are able to place extra support at key points, as well as establish 3 or 4 patrols a day. Maybe there is an extensive city watch, run by a captain and several sergeants. All key points are thoroughly guarded. The city perimeter is patrolled constantly, and city patrols happen regularly. Then we have information on general crime. Perhaps it's common. Most are used to hearing about some sort of trouble every day or two. Or maybe it's uncommon. Theft or mild violence happens from time to time. Best to keep an eye out just in case. Then we have details on organized crime. Maybe there are whispers. There are hushed rumors of criminal organization, but most folk keep the suspicion to themselves for fear of ridicule or reprisal. Or perhaps crime is barely hidden. The organization is a looming shadow within the city. Next we have the category of districts, with subcategories such as number of districts. Maybe there are 3, 4 or even 6 districts. Then we have district types. They are all extensively detailed. We have arcane districts, we have botanical districts, industrial districts, market districts, scholar districts, so many of them, with subtables to determine every aspect of each district, all sorts of data, information, all of the nuances concerning these specialized locations. Then there is the extra intrigue category, with subcategories such as recent history. A gang of hooligans have started making trouble around the market. Perhaps some form of illness has been sweeping through the city and none are sure what it is or how it started. Perhaps taxes have just been raised. We also have the Noteworthy Officials subcategory, with information on different personalities and services, such as the guildmaster, jailers, judges, clerks, champions of the city. Maybe there is something happening underground in the city. Perhaps there are fight clubs, maybe black markets, races. Some places in the city could be haunted. Some of these features and events could be single occurrences, or maybe many occurrences, or perhaps the citizens are willfully ignorant of what is actually going on. Then we have sample cities such as Barflat. Even from its beginning, Barflat has been a safe haven for weary travelers on the Great Road. It started as a handful of small buildings, which included an inn and stables, but quickly grew as more and more people found its location suitable for farming and ranching to the west, and mining in the hills to the east. It is currently one of the leading powers in the steel industry. Next we have New Hope. New Hope is an ironically named city of 22,000 souls, located along a desert coast. To the north of the city is an area of shifting dunes, but bordering the city in the other direction is rock, gravel and sparse scrub vegetation. The city has a magnificent harbor that was underused until recently. Then there is Retravis. Retravis began with such promise. The deep cold of the region lacked the bright spark of civilization until the ruins were found, evidence that a flourishing city once existed there. An intrepid few set out to take advantage of what they had found, to build a thriving settlement once more. They succeeded, for a while. Currently, the city is cursed by crime and multiple catastrophes. Now, following this cities chapter, we have a chapter detailing capital cities. It is quite similar to the standard cities chapter, but everything is on an even grander scale, especially when it concerns nobility, luxury, and as you can imagine, there are plenty more details concerning intrigue, espionage, leadership, notable visitors, and the military affairs as well. This concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to take a look at fortresses. This cities chapter is highly detailed. Added to that, we have the capital cities chapter, so cities are truly highlighted in this settlements book. They serve as adventure hubs or as adventure sites. The adventure, the entire campaign, could be happening within a single city. Or perhaps you are using that city to restock on plenty of powerful magical items, depending on the campaign setting, the best of armor, weapons, and gear. You will find things in the city that you can only dream of in smaller settlements, but at the same time, the dangers within cities are going to be unlike any other challenge that a group of adventurers has ever faced before. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, Thank you, and see you later.